And look, I had the same issues in my household. I became the religious one, right? It was a long process. For my dad, it was really on his deathbed. In fact, I remember we had hospice at the house.
My name's Josh. I became a Christian in college and getting baptized at Springs. So my question was, based on that, I'm the only Christian in my family. And I guess just based on that, how would you, just looking for some advice on how to kind of navigate that with my family, with loved ones, try to help share Jesus to them while maintaining respect and still honoring my family, specifically my mother and father?
Yeah, that's a great question. And always honor your mother and father, because that's a command. And if you say that I can only honor my mother and father if they never do anything wrong, you'll never honor anybody, right? We're all fallen. I think questions are very helpful. Mom, Dad, if Christianity really were true, maybe you can modify that question, because they may already consider themselves Christians sort of in the moral sense. Well, you know, I believe in God and I'm not a Muslim, so yeah, I'm a Christian. Okay. Maybe changing the question to this, Josh, maybe saying, if Jesus really did predict and accomplish his own resurrection from the dead to prove he was God, would you follow him? And see what they say. Okay. I want to ask a question. I just want to know. I think obviously with family, it's more difficult, because family knows better than any of us how depraved we are, how hard we are all to live with, right? Oh, you claim to be a Christian, Josh. How come your room still isn't clean? You know, I mean, that kind of stuff, right? You know, you're not going to be perfect. If you have to be perfect to represent Jesus, we wouldn't need Jesus. So we're all fallen and we all need a Savior. And I think one of the things we want to communicate to people is we're no better than anyone else in terms of winning favor with God, because Christianity is not about achieving your salvation, it's about receiving your salvation. Christ achieved it all. So it's been said this way, that evangelism is just one beggar showing another beggar where the food is. That's all you're doing. You're just showing mom and dad where the food is. But I think that, and look, I had the same issues in my household. I became the religious one, right? It was a long process. For my dad, it was really on his deathbed. In fact, I remember we had hospice at the house. There's a hospice nurse sitting on the couch, and are we going to go through another blood transfusion? You know, what are we going to do? And he looked at the hospice nurse and he said, I've been talking to my son, and he's convinced me that I'll be with Jesus. So no more treatment. And so that he was gone maybe 3 weeks later. So just be patient. And don't expect your father, your mother, or your siblings to believe what you believe right now, because you didn't even believe what you believe right now last year, right?
Yeah.
Give them some grace. Also serve them. Do whatever you can to serve them. And if you demonstrate the love of Christ, it may soften their heart. And always pray, always ask questions, and then wait. Just wait. Sometimes people only look up when they're on their back, like on their deathbed.